So we're going to go into a rundown of the inventory system and how we kind of go about setting stuff up in here. For the most part, I could easily import most of this from, I think there's Wiki Fireworks or something like that, but just out of respect to them in an open source project, I don't want to just crawl them and populate it. So these are largely things I've populated for my own stuff. I won't create one here. I'll just go over one that I've already done. Let's say Azure. Um, Really, to get this thing in here, I'll look and find an image on it and then find a YouTube video, and that's really all I need to start with. So that will inventory it in and give me quantities available. One of the neat things here is for one, I don't have access to comments or like I can't do 200 queues to make really nice timing and have everything work out. But what I can do is given a video and given just some craftiness, I can make what I call shot profiles for things. And what those are is going through the YouTube video and pretty much listening for the reports and some of the lifts, but we can configure it. So in here, it won't start with one, but if we view the existing shot profile, I've already edited this quite a bit to just kind of clean it up. But we can look at this and see that for this, that we've generated a shot profile for every shot in this cake. And you see here I've edited it to set colors for each of them, which is handy. For other ones, I was lazier and just had the default ones here. So what we can end up doing here is regenerating it, which is somewhere around here. So, we can go off max amplitude, meaning, from the loudest sound we've heard in the video, count anything above 70% of this as a shot, and anything that's 500 milliseconds or half a second apart, just call that one shot. So once you do that, you can tweak your things here. So let's say it was a bit too noisy, and I can put that in for reprocessing. And what it'll end up doing is giving me a different one of those profiles here. So let's see, not much has changed. I should have a spinner for status, or it just arrived at exactly the same conclusion. Yeah, so it seemed like that different threshold shrunk these down a bit. What this ends up giving us is when we go to create a show with, let's say, Azure Alert or Azure Burst, that when I add this into the show, it's 500, this gives me a really nice thing of, oh, these are each of my bursts, and I have a little bit of color there. So let's say that these being the bigger bursts of it, that I wanted to also fire like a single mortar shell, I could sync all of that stuff up and just have that advantage of, you know, having things kind of make sense there. So that's kind of the nice thing there about shot timing. You can really use, especially some of the longer cakes. Like, I mean, there's this 3 minutes of mayhem one that it runs for a while, and it'd be nice to, be able to say when it runs this red streak, I could fire some red themed mortar shells or some green ones here. So that's kind of the intent of shot timing, is to just give you the view here. Instead of just being a big dumb bar, you actually have individual timings of shots within it that you can coordinate. I mean, you can line them up between each other. So let's say I wanted the Azure Allure finale to be right in the middle of this red one, then you can make that happen here and you have that awareness. One other thing in inventory here is racks. So we allow the ability to kind of make racks, and we'll show that shortly in the show planner. But for a given mortar shell assortment, we can define each shell, and they'll typically describe, what for a given set, just all of the shells it has within it, which is pretty easy to add. So in this case, I mean, it's a pretty easy Google search of Black Mamba 4 inches, which are also shoes. I don't know, you can usually go to some of these and they'll list out the effects somewhere here. So I'm going to time box this to about 20 seconds, hoping that I find something that lists out each shell. There we go. So a lot of them will list it out like this. So all you really need to do is copy it, paste it, and then parsing it will create these. We'll put little color codes on them, and then you're all good, and you have your shells saved in here. So where that's really nice is when we go into the show editor and we go into our rack uh, editor here. For context, when you go to build a show, you can configure racks. So if I have a 4 by 8, let's do 4 by 8 rack, and the tubes are spaced by such a way, I'm going to say at my left 4 by 8 rack. We need to save our show first. Test. My launch code is a Y. Perfect. If I create this rack, then when I go to add a shell here, I now can sort by all the colors. So let's say I wanted a shell that has this color in it. So now here's all my shells that have those colors. So I can pick a Black Mamba number 20 or a T800 number 1. I sort most of my shells by the type and color, which is nice. Or if I wanted a red with, I don't know, strobe or something like maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. Anyway, you can kind of refine by effect, ideally. So here, I wanted to make this a Black Mamba 4. That's great. Whatever it is. So this just gives us the ability to really easily look things up to kind of theme colors, which I kind of like to do with rows is give them certain nice colors. So here, I can just go through again and I forget what my little thing is for fusing. Oh, yeah. Well, yep. So that's that. I really wish I could remember what I did for fuses. Is it control? No. Is it option? No. Command's usually my go-to. There we go. Um, so yeah, in this case, I can, let's see, if I do that, I'll batch and I'll make both of them a yellow Diablo shell. Then here, multi-select, and I can fuse them together with yellow fuse with a 1-inch lead-in being how long it is until the first vertical fuse down is lit. Fuse it with that, good to go. And then here, let's assign that. Let's see, rack shells, 48 rack, and then we'll do that one. Put you there. Assign it to 142 target 2. There we go. So that again, and we can see each of our rack. Given the speed of the fuse, which we define in inventory, and all of the stuff about rack spacing, that can pretty accurately determine when, and then obviously lift delay and all that, you can pretty accurately determine when the bursts are on them. So you could, again, coordinate all this stuff to where we kind of go through here, and yeah, if you had little smaller stuff, if you wanted to be fancy, you'd have all that. But this is kind of a rundown of where that applies, where the inventory applies to shot timing and just that ability to take kind of more dumb consumer cakes that you typically just run as dumb blocks and chain them back to back. I think it gives you a little bit more freedom and creativity with being able to time and coordinate them kind of internally. So that's a fun one. I wasn't able to see that most of the stuff. I mean, I think my gripe with most of the things that I'd used, like Finale or the others, is that I don't really have or typically stock or even have much interest in fusing 100 single mines or mortars and all of that to time them that well. I mean, I have access to cakes and other 1.4G stuff, and I just kind of want to make the most out of them and make them, have something that makes them feel fancy. But yep,